All right, well, you're listening to Lipstick and Leather. I'm your host, Ryan Trush, and on the phone with me is my friend, Johnny Monaco. The day's treating you well, Johnny?
Yeah, Ryan, how are you, buddy? It's okay here in Chicago. Not too far from Canada, I suppose.
One day I really want to go to Chicago. I've heard lots of good things about the pizza and the nightlife and just everything in general.
There's a lot to do here. I'm sure there is. I don't do it, but there's things to do. I'm sure there is.
All right, now what is your next project coming up?
Uh, I'm working on that now. I just been having a weird couple months, and I just been like trying to figure out what to do next. So I have a bunch of songs that I need to finish up and put out, and I'm working on a couple different bands. I'm hoping, within a month or two, I should have everything going.
Right on. Now, the new Enuff Z'nuff CD signed to Frontiers Records. It sounds like it's going to be a B-sides album, having songs they recorded a while ago, Radio and Nothing. Did you have any involvement in it at all?
I love those songs. The only involvement I've had would be listening to them 35 years ago. I I just found out, that was going to be the case. I thought we were putting out a new album or we're going to try to write some stuff and put it out, but that's not what they wanted. So he put out, or they're putting out those demos or not demos. I shouldn't say that. He probably mastered them or remixed them, but no, I'm not on any of those. I haven't heard them in a while, but I love all those songs.
Interesting. Now,
Yeah.
now, during your time with Enuff Z'nuff, did you guys ever record the songs "Do I Want to Know" and "What Do You Bring to the Table"?
No, we haven't done any of that stuff. I threw that one in a couple times, and then we used to play it, a couple of my tunes, and that was a long, long time ago, and those just kind of faded away, and uh, we haven't played any of my stuff live ever, other than that. No.
That being said, that's disappointing. I was looking forward to a new album with you on vocals. I mean, because you've been a songwriter for so long. I mean, you've already proven yourself and then some.
You would think, right? It was so disappointing. I quit the band.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, in so many words. I mean, I was actually originally taking a break because of my thumb, having some issues with my thumb locking. Yeah, it's trigger thumb.
Okay.
It interferes with the pick.
Mm-hmm. Now, before Dissonance, there was an unreleased album called "Lost in Vegas" by Enuff Z'nuff. Did you play on this album at all?
Yeah, and that album, I actually went to Las Vegas to record it, and we stayed at like this I rented this real nice house to stay at. And Donnie wasn't in the band at the time, so it was going to be the three of us. And we started recording it all, and then Donnie showed up at the studio like a week or two into it with like his computer and his hard drives all stacked on top of all these wires. It was like 2 a.m. It was hilarious. He just shows up, I'm here. So then he comes in and, we start working on stuff. And then after about a week, I'll just like, him driving me nuts. And I mean, I love the guy. Don't get me wrong. He writes great songs, but I couldn't, it's crazy. And then we just had like a falling out, about a week I left. I'm like, you know what? You guys just do it yourselves. You don't need me here. I did all this work. I recorded actually a couple of my tunes, and then a bunch of other stuff that we were working on at the time, and it was sounding pretty good. And I went back home, and they stayed for like a month because that's those guys. They'll stay until they absolutely get kicked out of wherever they go. So he was there for a long time, like a month, whatever it was, and then. That's when supposedly Jakey Lee was kind of hanging out and he was in town, and him and Donnie kind of got to be good friends. I'm sure. I don't know what that's all about. And then I think the guy who ran the studio, his name was Vinny. He played with Donnie out there a little bit. He came in and played drums, and he also ran that studio there. And so it was like a mix mash of a few people, and then they put it out like way later. And you heard what the results were. So I think I'm on like maybe like a little bit of one song, but Chip managed to just like, just re-record over everything I did, and he even took one of my tunes and recorded his own parts and his own Enuff Z'nuff type vocals and put all this stuff over it that I didn't even want or hear. And he did that too. So there's been a series of disappointments along the way that led to where I'm at now, to why I ultimately kind of decided to move on.
Hmm. Now, I own Lost in Vegas. Which songs were originally your songs on it?
He didn't put it on the album. He asked me, and he was going to put it out, and after I heard it, I was like, I don't really like kind of how it came out, and what you did with it and stuff, and you totally changed a bunch of stuff, and then there was two other ones that I recorded that. So he's got a couple of mine somewhere that he just never put out. So there's nothing on there. I think I played guitar on a couple of those weird ones. I don't remember exactly which ones it was, and I listened back and I can't really hear anything that I did mixed, and I don't even really hear what Jakey Lee did, to be perfectly honest. I might hear a couple of notes here and there, like within a solo, but they kind of get these guys to come down, they put them on there to get the name on there, and you can't really tell what they did. The same thing with Corey Nielsen. I can't pick out the parts.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a guitar player. I can't even tell, so I don't know what that means.
Yeah, because I have Lost in Vegas and Dissonance, and comparing them both, obviously Lost in Vegas has a couple different song titles, and well, it was an unreleased album, obviously.
Yeah. I don't remember exactly all the songs on that. To be perfectly honest with you, I just don't. I'd have to sit down and hear it, but there's not one thing on any of these albums. I think I played on that Z'nuff Overture.
Oh yes, you did. Yeah. Yep.
I think that's the only thing I can remember doing that where I can actually hear it and like be like, oh, that came out really good. I like that. Everything else, I can't really say that I'm not proud of it, but the point is I can't hear it and I don't really know what to do with it. So I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know. It's weird.
No kidding. Now, your time in Enuff Z'nuff, did the band ever talk about having you do some re-records, like a re-recording album with you singing?
Well, when I left the band originally, like, a few years back, and before I came through, and they asked me to come back after Donnie left again for the second time, it's like Spinal Tap. It is. It really is. I mean, there's so many similarities. But like when I came back, the second time, like it mattered. Like it doesn't matter at all, really. So I came back, and that was part of the reason. It's like, okay, let's move forward. Let's do this. Let's change this up. Let's write a new album. Let's make it, the three of us. And not that I wanted to take it over, but I just thought, like, what's the point? We took it as far as it would go the other way. So let's try to go forward in a new direction. And he was all on board. He was like, yes. So it wasn't like I was trying to con anybody or trying to get my way in there. They asked me to do it. And I came back and said, well, I mean, I'll do it, but it can't be like before. It's got to be a little different. And then none of that happened. I'll just revert it right back because people don't change. Unfortunately, I keep learning my lesson. You would think you'd learn your lesson after being on Earth for this long, but I keep trying, and I keep getting hitting a wall. So you either put up with it and don't complain, or if you're always complaining and sound like you're bitching and complaining all the time, well then just do something about it. And unfortunately, I had to just, I guess, leave to get for myself, or else I'd be just pissed off all the time. I don't want to be that guy.
Mm-hmm. Now, VH1 filmed an episode of Bands on the Run with Enuff Z'nuff that never aired. Has there ever been talk of releasing it in some kind of format?
Yeah, Chip was just talking to me about that the other day. That's really funny. I watched it a couple times. He's got like the only copy. I think it like sits in like a gold case with oxygen being pumped into it, like up on top of a laser beam, where if you try to reach it, the alarm goes off. It's really funny, and I wish they would have put it out because I think it would have been a good show. Steven Adler's on it. He's in that episode. It's brutal. I don't know if it's going to ever come out. I don't know who owns it or if there's copyrights or whatever. But I would hope that one day that does come out because it's really funny.
It's like you guys with Bow Wow or something along those lines on it.
Yeah, it was us against Bow Wow Wow, and it started. It's us you start in Hollywood, up on top of the hotel. I think like the Hilton up, on Sunset, and it's like kind of like a reality show where there's like two groups, us and them, and then there's the guy's talking. And he's like, "Let's bring out the first band," and they come out, and then we come out, and we're just like the Bad News Bears compared to them. I mean, they're all nice and proper, and they got like fancy shirts and complicated shoes and haircuts, and we come out and we and this is Donnie. It was Donnie and Dick Fox. It was really good. It was funny. It never came out because I don't know why. People are crazy. I don't know. They should have put it out. They put a lot of money into it.
I believe it. Now, whatever happened to the Enuff Z'nuff and Loudness tour?
Yeah, right. Again, another part of this whole thing. I thought we were going on tour, and because we hadn't had a lot of stuff come up, and I went on that Axis and Anchors cruise with Yngwie, and Tracy Guns got me on that. Mm-hmm. And we didn't have a lot of work coming up, and we're like, well, it's going to be fine because March we got that big tour at Loudness. It's going to be awesome. I'm like, okay. So I blocked out the whole month of March, and then it's been canceled. And I thought it was kind of odd that we were doing it because Loudness was just here. And, they live in Japan. So it's not like they're just driving over here. They got to pack all their stuff and get on the plane. So somehow it got canceled because they wanted to push it back to October. And no one told me. I had to find out through Artists Worldwide a couple of weeks prior that it wasn't even happening. So, it was all a bunch of that kind of stuff that just kept like screwing me up, and I just didn't know what was going on, and so I guess that's why it got canceled. They wanted to move it back. I guess it was just odd timing, and I think it's supposed to happen in October, but I don't know as far as for me, but for them, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Now, how was the Enuff Z'nuff concert at the Troubadour in 2013 where Donnie V joined you for a song, the band for a song?
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, that was cool. I mean, that's when we were out there touring as a three-piece, and I think he was living out there at the time with someone, and just he heard we were in town, and I think we invited him out or he heard or whatever, and he showed up and came up and sang it. And it was cool. I mean, everyone liked it. It was fine, and I think he also came out to another show somewhere along the way out there in California, out on the West Coast somewhere. But yeah, that was cool. I remember it.
Right on. Now, you weren't happy with the Enuff Z'nuff Nottingham DVD as you had Bell's Palsy on that tour. Did you try to get the DVD not released?
Yeah, that was crazy, man. I woke up, I thought I was having a stroke. I didn't know what was going on. My face was all weird and my mouth was drooping, and I had to get on a plane like that morning. So I just went out there and we did it, and like it got worse and worse. So by the time we shot that thing, I looked like I was there to kill Batman. It was horrible. Horrific, and it really hurt. And I didn't have any say-so in that or any pull or anything. I'm just like, I don't. This is ridiculous. I can barely sing. My mouth isn't working. I look ridiculous. That's why I wore those glasses, because my eye was like stuck open and the other one was drooping. That's a horrible thing to have. And it went away. It took a while. It took like a month. I don't even know how that happens. I guess it starts with an ear infection, but. No, I didn't have any say-so in it. I didn't even know it was coming out, and all of a sudden it was just out, and it's a board mix, and it's kind of dry, and I really wish I had a better opportunity to make that right, because, you can't just put out a board mix with a guy who's like that. You got to have the right timing and the right audio and stuff, and I don't know, it must have been the deal, like, oh, it's our deal, we're putting it out. So that they did. It was an English thing, anyways. I don't care.
Now, how wild was the Hard Tour with Bullet Boys, Bang Tango, and Pretty Boy Floyd?
Yeah, that guy Mark Tarian, they're nuts. Was that the one? Was that the one from back? Oh wait, no, that was the. What's another one of those? That was the Metal Sludge tour from.
Right, that one was with like Faster Pussycat and.
Yeah, that was a crazy one. No, this other one, it was called the Hard Tour.
Yeah.
It's probably appropriately titled. Every tour with those bands are hard. I don't really remember a lot of it because I just don't. It's not that, it's like, oh, it was so wild and crazy. It wasn't even that. It was just probably like, whatever. Another one of those crazy tours going place to place. I remember it being okay. I mean, there's always some kind of like issue with one of the bands being a prima donna or something happening, or like someone not being able to get into Canada. That happens a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Still happens. And I don't remember, to tell you the truth, a lot about that tour, but it was just another one of those, those type bands, all going out with us. And it's not that we don't fit in with those other bands, but musically we kind of don't. So they always seem to get over really well because it's a lot of sleaze rock kind of riffing, like kind of kind of stuff, and we're more melodic, So
Mm-hmm.
I never thought we fit with those bands really well, but we'd always go on early and stuff, and I always thought that we felt better. I would fit better with more of the pop bands.
Right.
Yeah.
On the topic of not getting into Canada, I remember when Enuff Z'nuff played with Ted Poley, Bang Tango didn't make it into Canada. This is some 2 odd years ago.
Yeah, I remember that. Joe Lestat tried to talk his way in. Like, he got off the bus, and you have to go in there, and there's like a little area, and you go through. It's like going to the DMV or something. And he tried to. Well, here's the thing. And that for sure they weren't letting us in. It's like, this is your spokesman? This guy's crazy. Yeah, something happened. I mean, we got there, and it's kind of a ridiculous thing. I understand, Canada's really clean. They got a lot of nice looking girls out there too. Every time I go there, I never see really a lot of ugly girls. I mean, they're all pretty good looking. I don't know what it is. But if you have like a DUI or something from like even like 5 or 10 years ago, they won't let you in. And it's not like those guys are even driving. Like, we're on a bus, It's just like a law. You can't, none of my business. I ain't changing the laws or anything, but it's not like he was wanted for, anything like recent. And I don't even know who it was. It might have been like the drummer from some band, and I don't know if Joe had a problem or something, but something happened with one of those guys down the road, and they're strict. They won't let you in if there's something like that going on. They don't want any riffraff.
Yeah, you're right about that.
Yeah. There's really not a lot of, when you think about Canada, there's no really notorious riffraff except for Bullwinkle. They're kind of nice. Heard he was real. I mean, I don't really know. I can't think of anybody from there. Maybe that's a good thing. Maybe that's why they're so strict that there's not a lot of crazy people there.
Oh, they still exist. They still exist.
Yeah. Some people out there, they got to be crazy. I just don't know them. But yeah, they wouldn't let us in. So we went in and we played, and whoever was, I forgot who it was, like Bang Tango and whoever the other band
Ted
was.
Poley.
They just drove to. Yeah, Ted Poley. Yeah, they just drove to. And it wasn't Ted's fault. That guy is, he's a nice guy. I never saw him to be a problem with anything. He likes to cut his sleeves off his shirts a lot. He looks like he might be a problem, but he's not. They drove to the next gig, which is close to New York. Or probably Canada's up there, so it's like, they probably just went to that one. We played a little longer, and then it was. I remember the show being pretty decent, and then we just met up with those guys the next day. No big deal.
Right on. Now, when I met you guys in 2001, I came on the bus, hang out, bought merch, and chatted with you guys. Now, I recall someone from Brett's camp not being too happy that I was on the Enuff Z'nuff bus. Did anyone else, did you guys encounter this problem any other dates on the tour?
Those guys. I remember that, and you were great, and you were fun, and you were enjoying yourself.
Thank you.
I mean, you're not a 16-year-old girl, so I don't know why they'd have a problem with it. Although, I remember we dressed up like we were 16-year-old girls. I think someone had lipstick on. It was weird. I remember just being.
I think Donnie did for a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, it was so weird. Yeah, I mean, those guys, there was some kind of, like, hard and fast rule where you couldn't park your bus near theirs, and you couldn't talk to their fans, and if someone approached you, you weren't supposed to, engage them. It was ridiculous. It would be like if Mussolini was on tour. or Hitler or someone like that. It's like you don't speak to the ferret. Okay, well I didn't know any better. These people are talking to me. They were standing in the bread line. I didn't know better. But they did. We got in trouble so many times in that tour that they almost kicked us off, and they made us park our bus outside of the venues. So like all the other buses would be inside, and ours would be like on the curb. And most of those places are in like really bad neighborhoods.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like like a real bad garbage pails and black cats running around, and shadowy figures. And then there's the Enuff Z'nuff bus with all the lights off because there's no place to plug in, right? We have no power. So it's like a dark, black, hot bus in the middle of the worst neighborhood ever, while they're all inside drinking champagne and eating shrimps or whatever Poison does.
Yeah.
I don't even care. I mean, it was nice that they got us on the tour. It had nothing to do with me. I was still kind of new to the band, so it was the first big tour that I went on, and probably the last one. So, I mean, it was a big deal. We played big arenas, and Ricky Parent was there, and He was great. And then Donnie V, and then someone broke their foot. I think Donnie broke his foot, and then Ricky almost got kicked off a couple times for hitting on girls because he was really into the girls. I was just making fun of everybody, so they weren't too happy about that. I got reprimanded a couple times because I wore a dress on stage, just for a joke. When I went on at 4:00, who cares? I was up there, and they were like, "Oh, you're making fun of the tour," and I'm like, "No, I'm not. I had red hair. Remember?
I sure remember. Yeah,
looked like Raggedy Ann. There's a picture of us that looks like two crazy people.
I'll post that.
I remember that picture.
Put as my profile picture when I get home.
Oh, it's horrific. I remember that haircut. I don't even know. I was just kind of making fun of it, and it wasn't. I was taking it serious. I mean, we sounded good. I think we sounded good.
Oh,
but,
phenomenal.
Then Donnie was all crazy, and he came out in a wheelchair a couple times because he broke his foot, and those guys are just out of control. I mean, and it wasn't even it was it was 2000. It wasn't like it was back in the day.
That's right, 2001.
Well, seems like a while now, but it was fine. But yeah, they kind of reprimanded us a few times and almost kicked us off the tour. And then a couple times I got yelled at, and I'm like, uh-oh, now what? And I was just getting to the point where I was pissed because every little thing they were nitpicking. I'm like, what? What now? What do you want to tell me? Because I'll just go home. I don't even care at this point. And he's like, Cece wants to talk to you in his dressing room. So they would summon me to Cece's room, and he was cool. He's like, hey, can you show me a couple licks and diminish? So they summoned me to his room so I can give him a guitar lesson 20 minutes before he's going to go on the stage, and he wants to try those licks. That's like showing someone surgery and then just, okay, have a good time. Here's your scalpel. Go right in there. Take out that liver. And I remember him trying to do it, and it sounded like someone threw the guitar down the stairs. But it didn't matter. It did not matter. When they clapped they were crazy for him. They loved it. And I tried to explain that to them. I'm like, why do you want to get good now?
Yeah.
Why now? People know who you are. You're fine. You do okay on the guitar. You got, roadies, and you got all these amps, and you got all the shrimp. You got a good place to park the bus. Who cares? Just go up there and suck. Doesn't matter. But a lot of people like CC, and he's a nice guy, and he was nice to me. It wasn't like he kind of turned on me a little bit towards the end. We were sitting in the hallway as they would approach the stage, and he's like, "You're not supposed to be sitting here." Fuck. There's people all over the hallway sitting here. And you tell me that? I'm in the band.
Yeah.
It was really disheartening. They have that roadie and that
Rob, was it?
I forgot his name.
Rob?
Yeah, Rob. That guy. You never could tell if he was going to approach you and shake your hand and say good morning, or stab you in the neck with a scepter. I don't know. That guy was crazy. He's like neo-Nazi-ish a little bit, a little rough around the edges, but he had that short haircut like he might be a cult. He might be he's like the enforcer for a cult.
Yeah.
He's probably watching all the video, making sure no one's trying to jump the wall, like they want to get out, but he'll keep you in, But then there were moments when he was really nice to me. So I know how to take these people anymore. I think they're just so used to people yes, sir, thank you. It wasn't like I was disrespectful or unappreciative. I mean, I was appreciative. I just, what do you want me to do? So, but they were nice they were up and down, and it's probably the band themselves telling them, like, listen, you tell that guy to get out of that hallway. Don't tell him I said it, though. Okay. And then they go and tell you, you got to get out of here. You got to get out of the hallway. And I'm not talking about like a hallway in a creaky castle. I'm talking about a huge hallway that you could drive like, one of those ice things, like, when they clean the ice, the Zamboni machine.
Yeah.
You could probably drive a Zamboni down these hallways. And the catering, there's like rooms everywhere. It's not like we're cramped for space, So it was Spinal Tap. It was Spinal Tap. Exactly how it was. So yeah, they did yell at us the entire tour, if that's what you're asking. Didn't really think I did anything bad.
I was thinking the bus thing was because Brett wanted to hog all the groupies.
Well, yeah, there you go, right? They come across like they're so innocent and, thank you. Oh, you're a wonderful group. And that's probably what it is. They want their pick, They don't want you stealing any of their, 3s and 4s. Usually what's filing in there. We played with we played with Poison not too long, or Poison. We played with Bret Michaels not too long ago, and he's just a ray of sunshine. This guy, he's like, people love him. They gravitate towards him because he's very pleasant. He says the right stuff. He's smiling. He's got the hair and the bandana and the hats, and he's like, it's really Team USA, and he's plugging stuff in between songs, and he says all the right things. It's like William Shatner meets Jesus a little bit. I didn't know how to take it because it's like, how can someone really be this nice? But he was nice to me. He said my name. I can always picture it like, him asking, like, his helper, like, what's that guy's name again? What's Johnny Monaco? Oh, yeah, thanks. Hey, Johnny. So I can't tell if it's like genuine, but I want to believe it is because I mean, I got to be honest with you. I was on the side of the stage. We watched a little bit, and he ran off the stage after they were going crazy for him. It was like a WWF wrestling. It was crazy in there. And he gave me a hug, and I got to be honest with you. As soon as I touched him, that pain in my hip went away. So I don't know. He might be onto something there. And I know the girls go crazy for him, and the guys want to be him. I mean, most guys that I know want to be Bret Michaels. I personally, it's not really my thing, but
No.
he's does his thing on stage. He's got that Midwestern kind of appeal to him. That's the same people that Trump is getting to vote for him.
Yeah, probably.
And it's the most of the world, except for Canada, because you can't really get in there.
That's right.
But if the rest of the world, when you're pandering to that crowd, it's all like drinking and 4x4s and God and guns. I don't know about guns, maybe.
Probably
but
guns.
I know there's yeah, probably. So, but it's that kind of mentality. So you can't really go wrong. I just question the authenticity of that. I wonder if it's like, the door shuts and it's like, fuck this. I can't. The hat comes off, it's connected to the thing, and the hair and it just goes on top of the thing, and it's walking around all pissed off. Give me a cigarette. Eating like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich and a big Charleston chew. And I don't know. He's drinking lemonade. I don't know what the hell goes on backstage. But I mean, they won't let me back there. But I want to believe that happens. But I don't think it does. I think he's probably just a genuinely nice person, and he's grateful because I think the more you have, the more grateful you become because you're afraid of losing it. So if you don't have anything, that's when you're crazy. That's why some of these other bands are like, on the road, like, the Bullet Boys and all those bands. They're a little nuts, Bang Tango. Because when you got nothing to lose, you got nothing to lose. That's a song, right? Someone wrote that song.
Arcade.
But it's there you go. You're like an encyclopedia. Every song from all the bands. So a guy like you, that's what they do it for. You're a little crazy with that stuff. I mean,
Yes.
you got it dialed in to the point to where, you almost should be in an institution. But I can appreciate that because you really mean it. You really love rock and roll. And I think some of these people are just fronting. And, I'm not saying it's him. Like I said, he could be a genuine person, and he was always very nice to me. So I don't want to say anything bad about him. That sounds horrible. I said all that stuff, but I'm just telling you how it felt, from my point of view.
Absolutely.
And but people love him. I'm telling you, man. It's like they love him. It's crazy, the love that he gets. There was a line of people waiting to see him. They were shaking and crying. After they would see him, he'd sign, they'd kiss. He must have kissed. It was like a kissing booth. He must have kissed 400 women. Okay, and then the women would walk away in tears. It was like they just saw Jesus. And I'm looking at them. I'm like, what am I missing? Why am I not feeling that? He's got the hat on. He's kind of like sort of glancing, sort of looking at him. He's got those blue eyes. He's got the lashes and the face, the scarves. You don't know. It's like a magic trick. You don't know what just happened, but you fell in love. You know you're in love with something. You don't know what it is, but somehow he hypnotized you. He's a hypnotist.
Yes.
That's what he is. Michael's a hypnotist. Lovely, lovely man. Beautiful eyes, beautiful face. I'd kiss him. I just didn't want to wait in that line.
Yeah.
Long, long line. All the way outside. All the way outside by our tour bus. That was parked 4 blocks away.
And when I've seen it was like $300 to meet him, so I had to pay $300.
Yeah, see, that's another thing. You got to be kidding me. These people are charging money to meet someone. You don't pay money to meet a guy in a band. You pay money to meet a urologist. Or the guy that's, listen, keep it on the DL, but I don't know how I got this thing. It looks infected. That's the guy you pay. Mm. And then you go to Walgreens, and then you pay the Indian guy behind the pharmacy counter because he's giving you the stuff to fix that. You pay those 2 people, and maybe a surgeon or your guitar teacher. But other than that, I'm not sure I want to pay $300 to meet the Bullet Boys. Okay,
I think it's 100 actually.
100, still overpriced. Okay, if I want to lose $100, I'll just stand really close to him, and when I feel his hand in my wallet, then I'll know I lost 100. And that wallet's probably connected to a chain if it's one of theirs.
That's true.
I'm making coffee right now. Sorry, I'm trying to calm down a little bit. Actually, that does the opposite, doesn't it? Having a real tough time the past couple months. Kind of a lot of anxiety. Can't sleep. And then you're telling me you're going to call me from Canada, and it's like, this is an important call. I better get up early. And I didn't. As soon as the phone rang is when I was getting up. I'm a child.
That's all good. I called a couple wrong numbers first.
I'm a child. I'm a man in a child's body, or the other way around. I don't know. One or the other. That's all I know. Is I still haven't figured it out, and I've been a little anxious lately. I should get with Bret Michaels, maybe pay him some money and sit down with him, see if he does sessions, counseling sessions. Maybe his counseling sessions would probably be so uplifting, and I'd probably walk out there feeling great, the birds would be chirping, like, people, let me tell you about my best friend. And they take one stuff off the curb and get hit by a UPS bus. It's just my luck, Full body cast,
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
On that topic, in 2010, you're the person who actually posted that I won the Butch Walker I Love Hair Bands contest. I remember that.
Yeah, you did. I know. Somehow it came up, or somehow, and I'm like, I know that crazy guy. And then you won, and you know what? I love Butch Walker.
I know you do.
The guy. That's a perfect example of someone who has not looked back, who has moved on from the genre. There's nothing wrong with the genres that we grew up with. I'm not trying to poo-poo it or anything, but as humans, we grow up. Some people stay and they don't. Some people choose to stay. Some people choose to force themselves to move on. Butch seems like a guy who's constantly reinventing himself. I like everything he's put out. I think he's a great performer. I think he has a lot of energy. He's good looking. He's got a motorcycle. He's got the tattoos and everything. He's living out in California. He is really doing it right. He's recorded so many albums. He's produced so many outside bands, and they're all good songs. And he always seems very uppity and he's never negative. That's the problem with me. I go right to the negative stuff. I just can't help it. I try to, I can't help what I'm seeing right in front of me. I'm just, there's no filter. I'm not very, politically correct. So, but Butch just seems like a guy who always says and does the right stuff. And when I saw, you won the contest, I was like, I happen to be interested in him. So then I saw that in you, and I'm like, I know that kid. And that's how that came about. Yeah.
Well, that's very awesome, Johnny. I appreciate it. That was how I found out I won the contest, actually.
Are you kidding me?
No, I'm serious. I was in Montreal in a hotel, and that popped up on my Facebook.
So you found out because I told you won.
I'm dead serious. I would have found out probably at some point after, but yeah, that was you posted it on my wall, so that's how I found out.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure Brett Michaels was about to call you and tell you himself.
Or someone from Hurricane Alice.
No, I think Brett. He's probably. I picture him at like there's like a master studio of looking down on Earth with like a bunch of televisions, and whenever something happens, like he becomes aware of it. Like they tell him.
Yeah.
You know, like the aliens looking down, or like kind of like a mixture of Santa and aliens and Jesus. There's like a control room that whenever something happens, Brett knows, and then they tell him, and so he's in. So sir, we just need to tell you immediately that Ford put out a new color. It's a purple. You might be interested in. There's a base underneath it. It's an ivory white. Good to know, guys. Thanks. There's a lot of knowledge in him. You know, knows a lot about all that stuff.
Definitely. Now, with yourself and Eric Martin being two of the funniest guys in rock that I know about, have you ever talked about putting a project together? As I know you've met Eric.
Is he funny?
He's funny, just like you.
Okay, let's not go nuts. I know Eric well. I mean, I don't know if I know him well. I think I do. I like Eric Martin. He is so great of a singer. This guy.
Oh, phenomenal.
Oh my God. His tone. I mean, that's the problem with nowadays. People see American Idol and they see all these bands, and because they're sort of hitting the notes like with their fat feet stuck in their shoes, you know, they think, oh, she's great. Look at her. She's like sings like a bird, like a mermaid or a fish. You know, to just hitting the notes is like part of it, and they're not even doing that. Eric Martin has tone. Mm-hmm. That's the important thing. Tone. That guy sounds like he's been up all night screaming and yelling, because he probably has. Yeah. But he incorporates that into his tone, so it's that raspy kind of. But of course, you're hitting the notes. You got to hit the notes. That's 101. That's like, you know, that's the first thing for singing. If you can't hit the notes, don't even start the rest of this stuff. Mm-hmm. That's the first part. You know, just because you do that. But he has got tone. I've never. You know what? How I met him is I went on tour at Mr. Big as a guitar tech for Paul Gilbert and Billy Sheehan. Yes. And I was at GIT, you know, with Paul Gilbert, and Paul Gilbert was like, look, we need a guitar tech. And I was like, I don't know if I could do that, Paul. I mean, you know, I don't work on guitars. I could change strings and stuff. Well, you'll be fine. It's a short tour. You just need somebody kind of last minute. And just thought maybe you want to do it. Because we were sort of friends, you know, and we were getting along. Because he was so good. I was intimidated by him. That's how good this guy is. I don't really get intimidated by many people with that kind of thing, but he's really good. So I went on tour with him, and I did their guitars. It was a really hard tour. It was like me and this huge van, U-Haul truck that I had to unload and load every night with like all this gear. And you know, I'm kind of small. So I think that's how I got my hernia. It was the worst. So. But, I mean, they paid me really good, and it was a hard job, and I got to meet all of them. And that's when I met Eric Martin. And then his wife, Denise Martin, she plays drums, and she plays drums in his band back then, the Eric Martin band. And then we all went together. And that was the first tour that I started singing after Donnie left the first time. Mm-hmm. It was a three-piece. You know, he's like, Chip called me. He's like, bro, Donnie's not coming. I'm like, what do you mean he's not coming? He's not doing the tour. I'm like, well, what do you mean? It's tomorrow. Yeah, you don't want to do it. I'm like, well, what are you going to do? I don't know. You want to sing them? I'm like, me? They don't want to hear me sing. I don't even know the words. I learned them on the bus. It's a long trip. We're taking all the way to San Antonio. Texas? Yeah. Like, I guess. So I'm like, you know, writing out all these lyrics, and I'm on the bus, and I'm learning all these words. Never sang any of these songs before, except like, you know, around the house and stuff. Mm-hmm. And then we went up and played. We get there, and Eric Martin's like, where's Donnie? And we're like, he's not coming. He's like, well, who's singing? And he pointed at me, and he's like, him? Because we never really sang together or did much. You know, he just knew me as a guitar player. Mm-hmm. And then after the first show, he was like very complimentary. He's like, you know what, you guys headline, do whatever you want. It sounds great. Three-piece. Sounds awesome. It's going to be a great tour. And that was the first tour. So he's really nice to me. He's probably being kind, because, I mean, I've heard some stuff that, from people come back to me like Eric Martin said some nice stuff about you. So that always makes me feel good, because when it comes from someone like that, you actually feel like maybe it's real. Because when just some ding-dong comes up to me and tells me how great I am and then turns around and says the same thing to someone else who's horrible, I can only take that so far.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, you just told me I was great. Now you're telling him he's great? He's not great. So, I got to take that stuff light. But Eric Martin's awesome. Yeah, I heard he was funny. I heard a couple of things he says on the mic, when he's talking, when he's warming up. But I usually forward through that part because I just want to hear him. I hear him sing because he's so good.
Absolutely.
He's really great. He is really great.
He sounds as good as, if not better, than back in the day. Actually, there's not many people I can say that about.
It's the way you're built. It's your it's your tone, just the way your septum and the way your bones go together. I think it has a lot to do with that. But then there's also, it's just if you don't stop, once you stop, it's hard to come back. It's hard to take a year or two off of anything. Stop walking for a week and see what happens.
Right.
So the same thing with your voice. You got to work at it. And he doesn't smoke. He drinks a little bit, I guess, socially, but it's not like he's a notorious drunk or a drug addict. That stuff will weaken you out, and as you get older, you can't do it. You'll physically lose your voice. But a lot of it is in your head. It's your head voice, like connecting the tone to what comes out of your mouth. There's this oral response kind of thing going. It's not just physical. It's like, hard to explain, but it's how you hear something and translate it. And he just has a good pitch, and he's a smart guy. These guys are kind of clever. Once in a while, you meet a real dumb, great singer, but it's rare. Most of those guys that are good singers are kind of smart guys, and they're kind of, they just know what they're doing, and he just continues to go. Like you said, it's rare, but he's really, really good. I mean, one of my favorites.
Me too. On the topic of GIT, do you still stay in touch with Russ Peria and Paul Gilbert?
Russ Parrish, he is Satchel, as we all know.
Yes,
the great Satchel, Steel Panther. And, I will call Russ once in a while, or I'll text him, but I don't want to bother the guy. I mean, he is very successful, okay? I am kind of like the guy that they're mocking. Like, I am the character that they're playing. They're playing a character, but they're probably, mocking us, like Chip Z'nuff and me. And so, I mean, I don't want to hey, Russ, where are you at today? Oh, Dallas. Well, let me tell you about Dallas. One time I was in Dallas. I don't want to do that. Plus, I don't care about doing that. But sometimes I'll text him, and he'll text me right back, and I just talk to him once in a while. If ever he comes to town, he calls me or texts me and says, come on out, you're on the list, sets me up. I don't hang out with him. I don't fly out to his house and hang out with him and his kids or anything like that. But it's like, I don't want to bother the guy. He's working so much, and they're doing so well right now that it's almost like it's really good. He's doing really good. They're selling out everywhere they go. You've been to a Steel Panther show
many times.
They're great, right?
Mm-hmm. They're terrific.
They're funny. They're really good. They sound good. The people think it's like the 80s. They think it's real, which I love because they're having a good time. It's fine. It's just when I call them, I feel depressed. Like, oh, God, I should be doing something instead of, nothing. So it's a little depressing calling him because he's doing so well. But, yeah, I talk to him once in a while. He'll take my calls. If I called him, he'd probably pick up, unless he was, in the middle of a guitar solo or a fingering or whatever they do on tour buses.
Well, that was very fun. Thank you very much for your time, Johnny. That made my day.
You are the man. I always love hearing from you, Ryan. You can call me anytime. I mean, don't start calling me every day, but you can call me anytime you want. If you ever need to get out of Canada and you need someone to pick you up, it's kind of far from my house. I could probably help you out with that. Maybe Mark Torian or Ted Poley can come and get you.
All right on.
Oh, wait, they won't let those guys in. But it's always a pleasure talking to you, my friend. You get a hold of me anytime you want, and let's keep in touch. And when I have something to actually talk about, if you want to do this again sometime, just let me know, and I'll tell you what's going on. I'll keep you posted. It's all going to be on my Facebook page, so just reach out anytime you want.
I was just going to say on a part 2, should we do a part 2 in a month, or wait till you have a new project to promote?
Yeah, let's see how far I get with this thing because I haven't really released it yet because it's not that it's top secret. I'm sure Bret Michaels already knows what it is. Some secret spies like that. What's that guy's name again? His helper?
Oh, Rob.
Yeah, Rob. Rob probably has like a pipeline. So he probably wakes up in the morning and they turn on like 16 computers and they all fire up the light pipe and they all go in through these like these things that are connected to a thing that goes on his head and like it goes right to his brain. Like, so I don't know. When I get something going, I'll let you know, and then I'll tell you everybody what it is. And I mean, it's not like no one's sitting around going, oh, I wonder what Johnny Monaco's doing today. You know,
I am.
I wish that was the case. Well, again, you are a specific type. You are very dialed in, a little nuts with that stuff. But I like that. You care. There's not many people that care anymore about anything. I can't even get a girlfriend because of that. Like every time I tell them this is, I yell at them about something or why are you doing it like this? Don't ever call me again or contact me. And then they block me on Facebook after like 3 months of like making out. Oh, you're the best. I love you. You're so accurate with things, and you're not like those guys. And I love how and your hair's cool. All right, this is going pretty good. And then me, stop yelling at your dog so much. You're pulling him. It's choking him. He wants to run around. You don't know what he's like. I've owned this dog. One argument, and then it's like, stop contacting me. Like I did something horrible, trying to help the dog, and then blocks me on Facebook. That's like a big thing. I don't care if you block me on Pinterest because as soon as I figure out what Pinterest is, I'm going to get on it. All right. I got nothing for you.